Before you ask, let me answer that question for you. You're not dreaming. You're wide awake. You're tuned into Play Action Productions because today we're talking live sports. That's right, live sports. Not those same replays they've been showing back to back on the sports networks. We're talking about something brand new. The sports return to the world, or the world's return to sports. You tell me. We're talking UFC 249, headlined by Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje for the interim belt. The UFC stacked this card up, so let's get right into it. Now, the first fight we're going to talk about, just briefly, was the prelim main event, Cowboy Cerrone and Anthony Pettis. Yes, this was on the prelim. I can't believe it either. They first fought, I think it was 7 years ago, and Pettis had that devastating body kick that knocks Cerrone down and out, really. And the rematch, it held up, I gotta say. You know, it's good when these fights happen because, you have Cowboy come out, and he's either Donald or he's Cowboy. He says this himself. When the big fights happen, like the Conor fight not too long ago, he came out, he was Donald. He didn't really look like he wanted to be there. But this fight, he was no nonsense, no business. He wanted to scrap, and he wanted this W so bad. He was straight Cowboy. Unfortunately, unfortunately for him, I should say, Pettis got the win unanimously, 29-28. But this was just like a great fight. You know, they were pretty scrappy throughout the entire thing. Cowboy was the aggressor for most of the fight. His combos were great, but I don't know, Pettis was just hitting harder and connecting cleaner, I would say. And it was very deceptive with those like sneaky punches he was fitting in. And it was pretty funny too. At the end of the round, there was a accidental eye poke that didn't get stopped. And after that, the last 90 seconds after that fight, those guys went off and really put on a show. It was a great way to lead into the pay-per-view. Now, moving up the pay-per-view main card, we're going to talk about Jeremy Stephens and Calvin Kattar. Now, the narrative coming into this was supposed to be gatekeeper versus up-and-comer. And really the narrative shifted when Jeremy Stephens missed weight by 4.5 pounds after being the second guy to weigh in. Don't quite understand that, but nonetheless, Kattar won by KO in the second round. And boy, was it a KO. You know, Stephens came out super aggressive. I guess he wanted to change the narrative from his weight to his performance. And he had some success early, but Kattar's boxing is just too crisp and too good for, I'd say, almost anyone in this division. He kind of looks like an Aldo in his prime. Just how fluid his hands are and how he's able to find little openings to get your chin clean. And the elbow he landed to take Jeremy Stephens out was outrageous. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend checking it out. The hole that was left from that elbow on Jeremy Stephens' head, it's going to take some serious time to heal. And I think Kattar is in for some serious competition upgrade. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jeremy Stephens is no joke, but the top 5 of that featherweight division is just a list of killers, and you got to give him one of those to see what he's made of. After that fight was the heavyweight fight everyone was anticipating, Francis Ngannou and Jairzinho Rosenstrike. This is going to be quick. Shout out Robin Black for this one. Bink is the only word you can use to describe this. Francis, clean knockout 20 seconds into the first round. You could tell, I don't know, he's a little bit different coming into this fight. Rosenstrike was talking about how this was his opportunity and how he called him out, he was going to take it, and Francis was kind of like, yeah, whatever, and kind of showed that. You know, he kind of took a hard leg kick, and I don't know if that pissed him off or what happened, but he came out flying, clean shot to the head, and that was it. You know, Francis is easily might be the scariest guy in UFC history, and it's got to be time for another title shot. I know they want to wait for DC and Stipe, but I don't know if a third fight has to happen. The clean left hand that knocked out Rosenstrike kind of proves that he's ready for either DC or Stipe, and really nobody else would do. Now, the first title fight of 2 on this card was for the Bantamweight Championship, Henry Cejudo and the legend Dominic Cruz. Now, before we get into it, we'll just say Cejudo defended his title with a late stoppage in the second round with 2 seconds to go. First time Cruz has ever been finished. But it wouldn't be a UFC card without a controversial finish. So to start the fight, Cruz has that crazy figure 8 movement, and the only way to stop that is to chop the legs, and that's exactly what Henry did. Cruz was having trouble finding Henry without getting popped back, and his legs were getting beat up, and you could really tell it was taking an effect. But he had a lot more success going into round 2, and then, unfortunately, they had a bit of a clash of heads. Henry's head just, huge cut just opened up. And after that, I don't know, again, just like the last fight, I guess Henry got really pissed off and landed a clean knee to Dom's face, who it clearly dropped him, went down, and he didn't, I think it was like 5 or 6 shots hit him clean. And, the fight should have been stopped there. maybe. And as soon as Dom started moving to try to get back to his feet, looked like he was, all there. Then the referee stopped the fight. I don't quite get that early stoppage. I don't know if I buy into that. I mean, his job is to protect the fighter, and he was trying to do that. Questionable stoppage is more what I want to talk about. I don't know how you can wait till the guy actually starts defending himself to stop the fight. Nonetheless, that was Henry's fight to win. But 2 seconds left, Dominic Cruz, I don't know. I think a lot of referees would have given him that shot to, make it to the stool and then see what happens after that. But the big story after this one is Henry gets on the mic. You think he's going to call out Aldo. He's talking about Volkanovski. Nope, this guy retires. This dude actually retires. He says, I beat DJ, I beat TJ, I just smashed Dom Cruz, I'm gone. And there were some rumors beforehand that, he didn't get a pay raise like he wanted, and that's why he was going to think about retirement. So we'll see. I doubt he stays retired. There's no chance. He's going to come back. He's going to not touch any of the 135 pounders. He's going to fight Aldo, and that's fine. I mean, think what you want of the guy. He's a hell of a fighter, and I doubt he stays retired. I highly doubt it. Main event time, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, 155, lightweight, interim title. Winner gets a date with Khabib, maybe. And Justin Gaethje pull out the W. He got the TKO stoppage in the middle of round 5. And that's a big story. Tony Ferguson was on the longest lightweight streak in history, 12 wins. I think Khabib had a catchweight fight in there or something like that. But to talk about this fight, you got to go back to a point that was floating around Twitter last week that Brendan Shaw brought up on the Joe Rogan podcast. He said something along the lines of fighting Justin is like snorkeling in hurricane water. After you get past the initial shock, you're fine. And fighting Tony is like deep sea diving. You think you're okay once you get used to it, but it just gets worse and worse. And that's usually how it is, I would agree with, but this fight was the opposite. Tony has that weird movement, and Justin was like loading up the left and the leg kicks to just stop it. It was like Tony couldn't get his head off the center. He couldn't get out of the way of these shots, and the left's hooks were coming early, and the rights were coming late, and he took a beating. Those clean shots to the chin somehow didn't knock him down he just took a huge beating. And this is a really unprecedented feat. You're used to seeing Tony destroy his opponents and their face looked like they just got hit by a truck. And this time it was his face that got destroyed. It seemed like I thought in the middle of the third round, I'm like, wow, Justin is actually having a hard time missing. Like he can't miss Tony. Tony was taking everything. Taking it like a champ, but it's only a matter of time. And I think the referee Herb Dean did a good job stopping it in the 5th. It was just going to get worse for Tony. And who knows what kind of serious injury he could have caused. But it was a great performance by Justin. I think, it's tough. Obviously, Tony and Khabib was never going to happen. That's cursed for life. We're never going to see that. Unfortunate, but it's the truth. Justin, with his background in wrestling and his newfound maturity with Trevor Whitman, his head coach, he had so many chances where he could have swarmed Tony. Tony could have done some crazy ninja stuff like he does and flipped the fight on him. And he stayed calm the entire 5 rounds. And that's a big sign for Justin. And that's what's kind of giving me a little bit of hope that he could actually compete with Khabib. I still think Khabib wins that fight, but I think Justin puts on a better show than people would probably give him credit for, just like this fight. I don't think a lot of people thought he was going to do this to such a high caliber fighter like Tony. And who knows what's next for Tony. I mean, I'm sure they're going to try to pump him and McGregor or something along those lines, but who knows? Nonetheless, it was a great fight. Unfortunate for Tony, but good for Justin for finally becoming a UFC champion. Well, if you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you doing so. Whether you actually watched the events, you watched this video, clicked through it, or just clicked it by accident, or just clicked it to appease me, I still appreciate you watching it. It's a weird time out there for everyone. Everyone's struggling in their own way, and having a live sporting event, being able to make a video about it brought a little bit of normalcy into my life. So hopefully it brought a little bit of normalcy to yours. A lot of UFC coming up, so make sure you stay tuned for more videos on the channel. A lot of cool animations and things we're going to play around with too. But if you enjoyed, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.